Good morning, everybody. Happy 420. 420 2020. I'm going to smoke a fat blunt and bacon-infused peanut butter chocolate cake. I may take some videos and some steps in what I'm doing. I have this idea for a show called Combo Recipe that I'll bring in a sous chef that I know, and they'll teach me how to do this real simple but delicious recipe that any bachelor could do. Then I'll show them how to do a Mortal Kombat combo. So hopefully I can make one of those episodes happen by the end of the year. It'd be a lot of fun, but we'll see. The underwriter for this episode is Avery Graham. Check out their website, averygraham.com. I'm using the active glycolic serum. I got diagnosed with rosacea, which sucks, last fall, which is dryness and redness of the skin. But after going to the doctor and using the medication, it was starting to do pretty well, or at least getting better. But then I also picked up this active glycolic serum, and skin's looking even better now. So if you have more oily skin, it'll help even out your tone. If you have more dry skin like me, it'll definitely help even out, take out the redness and get some more moisturizing effect into the skin. And then definitely follow up with your favorite moisturizer afterwards. But for those of you that want to stay consistent on a good skincare routine, check out the active glycolic serum from my friends over at Avery Graham and use that code JOSHVIP for free shipping on any of their other products as well. So this car wreck was scary, and it could have been a lot more scary, and I'm glad nobody else was involved or got hurt, and so far I'm good. I know you have to be careful after a car wreck to see how your body's going to react and if there's any lasting injuries and whiplash, but so far so good. What happened was I was getting on an on-ramp. I was transferring from one highway to another, and I was going the speed limit. I've taken that on-ramp many times. But as I was finishing the turn, I felt the van start to lose control. And in that moment, time stopped. And it was like that song from Final Fantasy kicked off when the battle starts. Bum, 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 ba-da-da-da-da-da-dun, dun, dun, bum, 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 you know? So I could feel my adrenaline start to pump. Time was slowing down. I was looking in my mirrors to make sure nobody was behind me or around me. And as I was trying to wrestle with the van to get more control, I feel it losing even more control. So instead of swerving and braking like a madman and it causing it to spin and maybe go out into the ditch, I just felt the van coast, and it started to coast into the median. Boom, popped the median, both the airbags popped, and then the van bounced back over to the other side of the highway, and I was able to coast it over to the shoulder. The engine's starting to rev up like crazy. Smoke was billowing out of the van. I turned off the engine and GTFO'd and got to the side of the road. I could see radiator fluid leaking, and I called my dad first thing, said, hey, I'm on the same insurance as my parents, and said, hey, this is what happened. He's like, yeah, call the cops, call insurance, go from there. I said, okay, done, on it. Called the cops first, 911. I had trepidation calling 911 because I knew I was fine, or I felt like I was fine, and nobody else was involved. But I called 911 and said what happened. They said, do you need us to send any medical personnel? And I said, no, miss, I'm fine. Just a police officer. So the police officer showed up. And I told him what happened. He told me, this happens all the time on this road, but people usually spin out into the ditch and cause more damage. And he asked where I hit, and I said, I hit the concrete medium around that corner. So he went and checked it out, and he came back and he said, listen, there's really no damage against the concrete medium. All the damage seems to be, for your car, nobody else is involved. So you don't need to file a police report. Now we can, but if they do, you may get a claim filed against you, but we don't have to file one. He was kind of giving me the hint, like I don't need to file a police report. So I was like, okay, we don't need to file one. So I called the insurance company. Unfortunately, the van only had liability insurance. It didn't have collision. Well, I know I say unfortunately, but the van is from 1997. It's a 23-year-old van, okay? But it only had 61,000 miles on it. So that's why I was using it. It was still a great van. I already put over $1,000 into maintenance and all sorts of stuff. So for a van like that, it really doesn't make sense to keep paying a collision insurance when, it's going to cost more than what the van's worth in order to fix it. But even with this, with both the airbags popping, the van is totaled. So cop gave me just, some good advice. And as I was on the phone with the insurance, I told him like, yeah, the insurance is not going to cover your tow truck, et cetera. I was like, all right. So I told the cop, all right, go ahead and call the tow truck. Cop calls the tow truck comes up. And the guy driving the truck looks just like Jason Momoa. He looks crazy like him with the eyes, big beard. He just didn't have long hair. He had shorter hair. And I told him like, hey man, I'm sure you get this a lot, but you look like Jason Momoa. And he's like, oh yeah, I get that a lot too. And I said, oh cool. I got to work with him on a show. A lot of bands or celebrities want crazy things on their rider, a certain color of M&M or champagne. All Mr. Momoa wanted was Guinness. That's all he wanted was Guinness. So yeah, he was good to work with. But it was very nice that during that crazy time, and I know I was in shock and my adrenaline was going nuts, that the police officer knew what to do and treated me very fairly, and the tow truck driver knew what to do and treated me very fairly. So a big shout out to Washington State Police and the tow truck driver that was able to take care of me. So the van is sitting in front of my house. I'm going to call some junk dealers today or tomorrow and have somebody pick it up, maybe sell it for junk for like $150. We'll see. But I'm out of a vehicle. But I'm safe and sound. No more Meals on Wheels volunteering for a while. After I get some money that's owed to me, I will see if I can pick up like a cheap vehicle for like $1,000 or something. But it's okay. I mean, I can walk to everywhere I need to go. Just what would have taken me less than an hour took me about 3 hours yesterday to stock up for 420, but it's all right. I spent time in the sun. I got some serious exercise done. I spent the morning in the yard. Been working profusely on the yard. So it feels good. It feels good to do some spring cleaning. It feels good to stay busy during this crazy quarantine. And it also feels great that so many people checked on me after I posted that picture of those airbags. To make sure that I was okay and that they're glad I'm okay. So thank you to all the well-wishers. I really do appreciate it. And I'm good. Things could have been a lot worse too. And I keep going back and thinking, is there anything I could have done differently? Should I have been going slower? I mean, yeah, but this is hindsight 2020. Anyways, for the vehicle that I'd like to replace it, I mean, if I had all the money in the world, I would get a Tesla, just pay it all off the same day. Oh, good advice a tow truck driver gave me, because I said, buying a car, I just want to buy it cash. It's cheaper. He's like, actually, because he used to work for a used dealer, it's better to finance, because that's how the dealerships, make their money is off of financing. So get a good deal and financing the car, and then just pay it all off the next day. So the dealership's not going to make all their money on interest over these years. You've just paid off the vehicle, and therefore you got the best deal. So good advice for all of you out there looking for a new vehicle. Finance it, then pay it off all the next day. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I finished it. 40 hours of gameplay. Some people didn't like the ending. I did. I liked it because it expands on the potential. And instead of this being a one-for-one remake, it's as if the story is pushing further and evolving and progressing while holding on to the original as the first take, the first run, episode 1. And then you have Crisis Core and the story of Vincent and other games that were made after Final Fantasy VII. And then there's Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, the sequel, the movie that Square Enix made, which is pretty good. Very impressive, that last battle scene. And at the end of that film, spoilers, Sephiroth is still part of the planet. He's still a part of this corruption at the end of Advent Children. So are the creators of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and most likely they're going to be making a trilogy here, do they have that in mind? And is this trying to make things right? Like the planet trying to finally get rid of this evil by everybody going through the motions here and see if they can change a few things? I don't know. I hope they don't change too much. But the incredible vocal performances on the English side are one of the many facets why I want to play that game again on hard mode and get all of the trophies. It was a little bit padded, a little bit bloated in some areas to make the whole Midgar section of the original game feel like a full game, and they did. There was one or two spots that could have been trimmed down, but the sheer joy of being in that world and how it was presented and how well these performers brought to life these characters, I have really nothing against it. The whole rooftop scene when you're walking along the rooftop with Aerith, all you're doing is walking and climbing ladders. But the music, the setting, the charm is what builds the resonance. It builds this almost vibration of life from the characters that you feel as a player. And you're invested in their hopes and their dreams and their wants and their desires, and you want them to succeed. And for a storyteller to be able to do that with two people having a fun conversation as they're climbing some rooftops, that's good storytelling. And I'm very happy that this story is being presented in this modern day in the best way possible. And that is in a very well done video game with today's tools, today's graphics, music. Oh, the music! So good. Even the new song that's written for the remake, I want to learn on guitar. Because I would, the same thing I would do when I was 11 years old, playing the original 1997 version of this game. I would pause the menu and I would listen to the music and marvel in it and not even want to continue on to the next stage of the story because I love the music where I was so much. And my parents could attest to this. It was fun talking to my parents recently about finishing this game because when I grew up playing these Final Fantasy adventures, I'd come home from school and that's all I would do outside of, procrastinating, but doing my homework until I would beat the game, and it would take me like a week or 2 weeks. And I'd get sad. I'd get depressed because I would look forward to playing this experience every day when I had it. And then once it was over, it's like, well, what do I do with my life now? But people feel that after they binge watch a show. People feel that after they beat video games today. But that feeling was like I was being linked to my 11-year-old self, and that joy and that wonder of experiencing this story and this technology and this video game. My parents had never seen this stuff before. This is my first PlayStation game that I ever played. I'd grown up with Nintendo, plenty of Nintendo. Star Fox 64 and GoldenEye were the last two games our parents played with us until they're like, you know what, we can't keep up with you kids. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII, Square Enix, you nailed it. I highly recommend everybody to play through this story when they can. It's worth the full price of admission. But if you're waiting or if you don't have the funds, I hear you. But if you can afford to pay for Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 4, do it and knock out 40 hours of your life enjoying this wonderful story. Around the corner for me this Friday, For the Trees, Swamp Thing Invitational presented by Gray Gardens. The winner receives Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge on digital. I have currently 3 players that have officially signed up. A lot more have said they want to be a part of it on Twitter. So I'm going to start reaching out, if not tonight, tomorrow, to those that responded and say, hey, follow the directions. Send me proof of your wired connection to my company email, and we'll get you into the bracket. Now, if I have only 4 players total that sign up, then I'm going to do first to 10. If I have 8 players, then we'll do a full double elimination bracket and do best of 5. But we're going to have some fun. So make sure to grab your favorite joint because I'm going to be token up. You know it. We got to do it for the trees, folks. Got to do it for the trees. And we're going to see some fun Swamp Thing. And also, I'm going to be talking about how J.J. Abrams booked, this big gig with DC to develop these shows on HBO Max. And Swamp Thing's going to be a part of it, as is Justice League Dark. I haven't watched the Swamp Thing show that was on DC Universe, even though I heard good things. I'll see if I can maybe this week. But what I'm going to do behind the scenes to get ready for the tournament is I'm going to start pulling a lot of sound clips audio clips, a lot of them from Dave Chappelle, because I've been going back and watching his stand-up comedy on Netflix, and it's so good. So good. And I can't believe that was all the way back in 2017 when he did his first, I believe his first 3 for Netflix. And I remember hanging out with my buddy James in Utah and watching him when they had just come out. And now it's like, wow, that was 3 years ago, bro. Crazy. But I'm going to watch his latest 2 as the cake is baking this morning, as I get baked myself. But yeah, For the Trees this Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific time on all the channels, YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, and Facebook. Mr. Joshua Gray. Speaking of Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge, it is out now on digital. It'll be out on the Blu-ray and 4K combo pack on April 28th. This film is excellent if you're a fan of martial arts, animation, or just straight up, a rated mature story in all the good ways. And the animation style, the violence, the drama, the comedy, the voice actors, everything comes together in a great package that I feel lays a very, very strong foundation for more Mortal Kombat titles in this animated space. And personally, folks, this is the lane I see myself going down when it comes to pitching story ideas and more animated stories within the Mortal Kombat space. So I have this one script that I've been working on for a long time within the Mortal Kombat space, not knowing exactly where things would fit or if I want to make it live action. But I definitely think this is an animated title. So that's one of the script ideas that's been floating around in my ether, in my mind for the last couple of years that I've written down, the 3 acts and the characters and what's at stake and what do they want. Yeah, so I definitely feel confident I can put this together as a pitch maybe for the animation side. And if nothing comes of it, that's cool. At least I feel I've done everything I could within this one story that I have. But there's other stories as well. So yes, please check out Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge. Great film, great work by everybody involved, and hopefully many, many more from the studio. Warner Brothers Animation, they do great work. Still staying indoors. This is week 7. Going into the quarantine. For those of you that want to open up America today, especially you business owners, you are making the statement that you are willing to put your customers at risk so you can gain a buck. I'll remember that, and I hope everybody else remembers that. So I'm seeing those on Twitter, even in Washington. One guy said I was a cuck for wanting to keep businesses closed until science dictates otherwise. And I wanted to respond and say, well, man, I'll whatever business you own, I'll know to avoid because you care more about making money than you do about the lives of your customers. My business is wiped out right now. I'm out at least $50,000 compared to what I made last summer. I'm paying my last contractor who's working on the For the Trees graphics package along with graphics for a business deck I'm working on. And that's it. That's the last amount of money I can spare. And then I'm down to my last $1,000 personally, which is a real scary place to be. I have money on the way. I'm waiting for 2 paychecks and government assistance that's guaranteed from legislation. Plus I've applied to 2 loans for my business and the PPP program for my business, which has already dried up, even though I applied 2 weeks ago. So I'm waiting for these programs to hopefully come in and help, plus my tax return, a lot of other things. But it's a scary time. And I'm even more scared for friends of mine and everybody else who doesn't have this money coming in, who isn't waiting on these checks. That's the only reason why I still have a smile on my face and have some optimism. But it's a scary time, folks. So stay bunkered down. And hopefully our leaders will pass some better legislation to get us through this. But it is infuriating to see major corporations being bailed out first, while Main Street, regular people, are at their wits' end when they start to see their savings are going to be running dry soon. The 2 restaurants that I work for here in Seattle, I'm part of a chat group. And in that chat group, we're still keeping tabs on each other. We'll do our 9 o'clock shots, take some pictures. I shared that I was on, television in this other Mortal Kombat show that I did. And The Ruth Chris restaurant chain received over $30 million from the government. Ruth Chris is a huge restaurant chain in America, steakhouse, high end. $30 million could have saved a lot of restaurants here in Seattle. So to see the government rewarding these major corporations first while small businesses not only suffer but close up forever is infuriating and continues to sow the seeds of a revolution. As many of my mentors and authors I look up to say, they want a nonviolent revolution. But as the government continues, and the government and the rich continue to screw over the American people, then as our ancestors did in the past, if we're backed up to that wall of revolution and the only way is to fight our way out, then we're willing to fight. I hope it doesn't come to that, but be prepared. Read history books. See what tensions were like before the American Revolution, before the Civil War. I hate to be a downer, but got to use our voices to fight before we use our fists. And we've been using our voices for the last 30 years against bad policies. And us millennials have been fighting the longest war in American history and being paid 23% less than the baby boomer generation. So if any leader tells you that millennials are lazy, that leader is a liar. They're misinformed. So we have to have more of these Gen Xers and millennials step up. All right. Stay indoors. Podcasts to listen to while you stay indoors. And be realistic until we have a vaccine. We hate movies. Always fun, always comedic, always great. I may not agree with some of their takes sometimes, because I think Dave Chappelle is the greatest comedian of all time. But they are awesome. So make sure to check them out. And Vinny Brusco Show. Super good podcast on iTunes. In terms of media, a lot of good reviewers out there. Jeremy Johns, when it comes to, reviewing Final Fantasy VII and others. But again, a big shout out to Grace Randolph for Beyond the Trailers for channel name. She's been running that channel for a while. But she does great reviews and videos on the state of Hollywood. She did one on Amber Heard recently, which was fair. And tough place to be for Warner Brothers, man. They had Ezra Miller, who tackled a woman to the ground. Even if it was like play tackling or whatnot. I mean, he just got it on video and it looks bad. And then Amber Heard lying about the abuse with Johnny Depp. So at least Johnny Depp, is going to be cleared in all this. But, man, don't marry gold diggers. Don't do it. But yeah, check out Grace Randolph and Beyond the Trailer. Shout outs, my parents. Big thank you to my parents who, were calm when they heard about the car wreck, but were very glad that I was okay. And, vehicles can be replaced. It's just a car. But the funniest thing that's happened is over the last month, 3 vehicles in my family have been totaled or hit. My father's truck, my sister's ex-boyfriend was driving it, and he swerved into a ditch, hydroplaned into a ditch, and then tried to turn the motor on when the truck was underwater like an idiot. That's why he's an ex now, which flooded the engine and killed the engine. So my dad's out of a vehicle. So I try to figure that out. My sister got rear-ended. And that definitely damaged up her car. And then the van is totaled. So it comes in threes, as the old saying goes. But maybe something is great around the corner. And to my sister's ex-boyfriend, nice guy, dude, but thanks for being an example of what not to do when you crash into a ditch. Don't turn the truck back on if it's underwater. You'll flood the engine. So don't do it, folks. That's my PSA for today. Well, again, happy 420. Thanks for listening to this Monday morning musings. A lot less fire and fury this week. And I appreciate everybody that checked on me as well. I really, really do. I was hesitant about posting that picture of these airbags popping off, but you know, it was the first time for everything. I was okay. It was the first time I ever see airbags popped out, so why not? Now, if I was injured or if somebody else was injured, there was obviously not an appropriate time for me to make a post on social media. But I'm okay. Nobody else was hurt. The van's dead. So rest in peace, Big Betty. You're a great van when I had you. And now not having a vehicle is a brand new adventure, and I'm looking forward to it. Stay safe out there, folks. Have a good week. Get outside if you can. It's been some lovely weather up here in the Pacific Northwest. And stay safe. I'll see you online.